Julia with Sirius Talisman, Mercury, our basically Jupiter night. So 11 degrees Scorpio ascendant, midheaven 16 degrees Leo. I'm dedicating this episode to Mars Deneb Algedy. So this is going to be a consecrated Mars Deneb Algedy episode. Let's see if I have a paint. While I'm making Mars Deneb Algedy, I was basically consecrating body peeling with salt and dedicating that to the minerals, ethical mining, and then I literally heard petroleum. So, first of all, thank you to the person that reminded me that petroleum was used by John D. Rockefeller in his prescribed medications. Um, and so, in my Bernoulli episode, I addressed the fact that injecting something chemical can alter basically the waveform activity and collapse the thresholds at different probabilities. Let's dedicate this research to Mars Deneb Algedy. So this is petroleum in medications. John D. Rockefeller. And basically that would mean that oil, one of the attributes of oil, now we need to know whether oil can pass the blood-brain barrier. For example, as a aromatherapist, the reason to use, let's say, organic cold-pressed essential oils or CO2 production is that the essential oil passes the blood-brain barrier and therefore is able to affect the nervous system quite potently and enter the bloodstream, which is potent detoxification. I don't know if petroleum has this quality. Many modern pharmaceuticals are derived from petrochemicals, including ingredients for analgesics, acetaminophen, a decongestant, and various compounds used in chemotherapy. And while Rockefeller himself and his family were known to favor homeopathy for personal care, his philanthropic efforts, specifically the Rockefeller Foundation, aggressively funded the scientific research-driven medical establishment, moving away from holistic practices. Now, basically, what those chemicals would do is collapse the thresholds of neurochemical activities. And they could alter anomalies in body temperature. And when we talk about brain activity, we're already talking about affecting our senses. For example, pink fluoride was given to the gate children in MK Ultra and MK Often to block their psychic perception or to try to regulate their psychic perception. Oil Standards context. By the late 1880s, Rockefeller Standard Oil Trust controlled 90% of American refineries, creating massive industrial capacity for oil byproducts. Okay, now what did I mean when I said I consecrate this episode to Mars Deneb Algedy? This is basically also a talismanic episode, um, with the attributes of Deneb Algedy of creating boundaries where it's intricate to create boundaries, namely minerals, trade, oil, standard oil, um, oil refineries, the geographical places, for example, the Dead Sea, where they loot the minerals, um, the byproducts and the uses of byproducts. For example, petroleum, uh, the fact that we don't actually need it or don't need that much of it. Um, put create a situation where it's in the medicines. It's both an agent of pollution, blood pollution, neurotoxins, and um, as medicine, it basically creates a lot of side effects, which basically means it's poisoning. Um, Now, poison is not just dosage. Poison is also dosage. Just the way if poison was just dosage, then the difference between drinking um, water when you're thirsty to drinking soda or let's say Coca-Cola, um, okay, then the difference would be only in the dosage. No, you cannot replace water with Coca-Cola, um, and just drink less. Okay, so there is also the chemical compound matters, which means that what medications are made of matters both regarding of the dosage. We cannot forget dosage. If we drink too much water, we also poison ourselves, but also the chemical compound matters. And well, definitely putting petroleum would change, would basically collapse the thresholds in different rates. It would change the changes of state more quickly. This also happens in politics. But this is or delay the changes of state, um, which would create anomalies to the toxins that were previously in the body, but it would still be a toxic agent. Whereas, and this is why we have the term of half-lifetime when it comes to medical prescriptions. I'm not a pharmaceutics person, um, but this is something that basically computates the life stream of the drug and or the prescribed drug in the bloodstream. So, legacy, the influence of this wealth helped shape medical system that relies heavily on chemical compounds. Um, One would consider that with the move from oil and gas to other renewable energies that require, by the way, less coal. And if I was Trump, I would definitely seek a plan B to coal mining. While coal mining with um, while coal mining, given labor rights, can create a welfare state, I would not. I would not depend on coal mining so much so as to not be sovereign in the face of oil industries, particularly not in a day and age where the move to non cobalt and non coal related energy, which is the infrastructure, let's say, of solar panels, hydrogen, and so on and so forth. Again, would probably need to refine those, refine the refinery as well, but this is basically also a call to consider such similar moves in what medication is comprised of. And there are many good peer-reviewed journals that describe the action potential of plant-based medicine. Um, and if Rockefeller and his family were using homeopathy, and I have to say, homeopathy was one of the things that were the most challenging for me as an academic to take a look at in my thesis, because that was the one thing that kind of like everybody agreed on that is very weird. And yet, when we talk about waveforms, those very weird things that are compounding of the um, the most minimal food stamp, chemical food stamp of matter with a shit ton of um, what that plant is used for, and it's making sense that those medications were used as talismans, um, and which would explain their efficacy. Again, me being because basically it would mean that by having, let's say, a rock rose plant as you know, even Bach flowers, I think, is the closest to homeopathy. And let's say having a Bach flower solution, and inviting the energy of the plant, that is probably how the efficacy would attune even more. Um, and this is something that a lot of talismanic work is still, when basically we do a talisman, we bring in by symbol, by matter, by intention, the energy of a planet, or the timestamp of a planet, or the timeline of a planet, with everything that is in it to sort itself in the best possible outcome. Um, and with that, I want to emphasize that this episode is talismanic in that sense. So, um, because many people, normally I would address the time of recording, but this one is talismanic as it's a Mars, it's a Venus Pisces, but also Mars Deneb Algedy talismanic episode, um, with all that entails. Um, Rockefeller's impact was more about financing the infrastructure of modern science-based industrial medicine, which happens to use petroleum rather than direct intentional plan to put crude oil into pills. Um, Again, Standard Oil was about infrastructure more than it was about oil. Um, and with Saturn now that ingressed to degree 1 in Aries, we can think about laying the infrastructure for um, basically non-toxic energy, brain medicine, and art, as a person that dabbles into art, because those things definitely affect our creation and engineering and so on. Um, so, the way that I would see dividends to this episode is in um, zero rape, zero slavery, um, mining companies, and zero rape, zero slavery, um, refining the work, the derivation of minerals, as well as the refining of minerals, as well as controlling for byproducts so that they wouldn't end up in our air, brain, sea as neurotoxins. I know that this is a lot, um, and and such initiatives would be very welcome for me as a dividend for this episode, um, which would mean that I would also be able um, to treat my teeth, to actually see a doctor, because these days, with all that I'm tending to, it is actually a risky endeavor for me. And this is one this is one and with business, and in a way that allows people, regardless of their ability to work or income, to receive um, basically actually healthy medicine. So this is how I would see the dividends for this episode, as far as I can see right now, and of course to be able to vacate um, in those mineral-rich sites and enjoy the natural healing of swimming or floating on sea and, as a living body. On the Dead Sea we float. So um, great energy. So you can watch this episode. Um, Good time to watch this episode when the moon is 23 degrees Aquarius, when ascendant or midheaven 23 degrees Aquarius. Um, this would be a good time to watch this episode. If you are a day chart, Mars could be a little bit sensitive to you. So, um, and although it's Saturn ruled Mars, so watch with care. Um, Anything that crosses 23 degrees Aquarius is compatible to watch this episode, and you can dedicate your viewing as Deneb Algedy veneration, and you can dedicate, if you are actually working on the dividends, then you can feel free to watch this episode while you're working, or to put it even on silence and watch, or low volume, and just put it in the background for the energy. This channel is not currently monetized, so I don't ask you to watch to increase my view time. Though I do not unrule it, I just see it as the energy playing in the background could perhaps assist in further um, um, taking action to endeavors that would basically be dividends to this work. So, yeah, you can light a simple candle when you are working, or when we are watching this. The symbol for Danab Algedy is this. This is the symbol for Danab Algedy. Um, and this is basically um, yes, uh, um, Fixed stars are considered, according to Christopher Warnock, safe because this episode includes Mars and it's a malefic. Um, I would recommend to be informed of astrology and astrological magic, okay, and to pay close attention to things that happen to you around the watching of this episode. Um, Please understand that those things are important topics, and understand that those initiatives can carry life-risking situations, okay? Because it's in friction with trafficking, slavery, and basically war criminals. Um, okay, not with the war criminals themselves, as with crimes against humanity. So coming with this energy, coming into contact with this energy is basically being in friction with the conduct of crimes against humanity and everything behind that. So please understand, um, okay, the context, and the fact that I don't know how to provide like protection in that endeavor. Okay, so I want to be in full disclaimer here. Um, okay, by the content of this episode, I think it is understandable uh, um, the potential for this. So I want you to address this and this calling with um, not with rose tinted glasses, but also not with a fear or deterrence, because it's about taking action on the topics that we're supposed to be tending to. Okay, and this is something that could compound um, to, first of all, not having to need medicine, and secondly, having medicine there when you need it, actually healthy, um, and having a lot more compounding peace that is actually peace, that is not based on um, desensitization to um, crimes against humanity on a worldly scale. So, thank you for watching.